Hey guys, welcome back to Cap View. So today I'm going to be doing a full movie review on the film The New Mutants. So this dropped on August 28th, I believe, and I watched it, I think yesterday or the day before. Now, the reason I don't remember, let's get into it, guys. So I'm not going to lie, I'm just going to say it straight up, this movie was not memorable. And frankly, if it was any lower than the score that I'm giving it, I wouldn't have even done a review on it, to be honest with you guys, because I don't feel like you guys should be put through it. But I try not to discriminate on the channel, and I don't want to, just give you guys the best movies to go and watch. I want to give you guys a real thorough representation of my opinions and thoughts on all types of films, especially anything that I see that you guys might be interested in. So, with that being said, I did watch New Mutants. Now, first of all, let's just break it down from the start before I get into my actual review of the actual film. So, first of all, this movie was meant to come out, I believe it was 2017. It could have been 2016. I honestly just stopped following it because it was ridiculous how long it's been since it was meant to come out. It got delayed and pushed back over and over. And now, given, okay, COVID kind of happened, so a lot of movies suffered, not just this movie, but this movie had already sort of been, in between hands, so to speak, and essentially Disney has this film now, I believe, and I think that Disney just didn't really care as much about its release, and I feel like there might have been lots of contractual obligations as to this being released a certain way, so essentially, they could have put it out on streaming. I feel like this was definitely more of a streaming film. I think I've seen plenty of movies that have been put onto streaming that I feel deserve the big screen and deserve to be in theaters. This was not one of them. So I'm baffled as to why Disney did what they did, to be fair. And there was a lot of, back and forth and controversy about this film for a very long time and the decisions that were being made behind the scenes. Now, they refused to do that and just were adamant about putting it out to theaters as soon as possible, basically. Now, New Mutants is definitely one of the first and only films that has in fact been put out to theaters, with a lot of theaters being closed all around the world, in Australia included. So, how did I watch this, you may ask? Well, with great difficulty. If you follow me, you know that I tweeted about it numerous times, extremely frustrated for an entire day, because I just woke up and all I wanted to do was just watch New Mutants. I really wanted to just give this movie a go. I had been waiting for it. I wasn't super hyped for it, but I was fairly excited enough, and considering we have a wait, for our, next comic book type of genre hero type movies, I was excited enough to watch this, being a fan of the genre. So, I was willing to go see it, but it was almost impossible to watch this film. There are no theaters open where I live. I don't believe there are anyway, but even if there were, we have a lockdown where I am at the moment, so I literally would not be able to go and see it even if the theater was open. Other than that, I could not purchase it online as a pay on demand. I don't know if you can get it on Prime. I don't believe you can, but I couldn't get Prime here anyway because I'm in Australia. So there are a lot of things that favor US sites with these US releases. So it was very frustrating, to say the least, guys, and it was a mission to try and watch this film. And so I just felt like straight off the bat, they just made it so difficult for people and fans to prolong their excitement to watch this film. And then when they finally did release it, they didn't really release it to a worldwide audience. They just didn't give it a real chance. And I just feel like it doesn't make sense altogether to wait that long to then release a film in a half-assed way, basically just not caring about this film and the work that was put into it. Because I don't want to discredit anyone who worked on this film. I just want to make that clear before I give my review of this film. I didn't think it was worth the effort I went to try and watch this film. Now, let's actually get into the film. So, this film stars Maisie Williams. You might know her from, she's more notably known from Game of Thrones. Anya Joy-Taylor, who was in, what was that movie with James McAvoy? She was really good in that. She's been in a few things. Actually, she was probably the best thing in this film, to be honest with you. She was the best thing in this film. and who else was it? Alice Braga was in this. I honestly, that was the reason I wanted to watch this. I'm a big fan of Alice Braga. I've watched Queen of the South. She was very, very good in that. If you've not checked that show out, she was very good in that. So honestly, that kind of got me into it more than the New Mutants themselves. Now, I'm a big fan of X-Men, and the X-Men in both forms, even though I didn't love the prequel versions of the X-Men that were done. I'm old school. I like the old Fox ones that everybody hates. But yeah, I'm a fan enough, but I'm not a fan of like changing things and moving through the OG characters. So, you know, I love my Wolverine and my Storm and my Professor Charles Xavier. So, you know, I like the X-Men. So watching something that incorporated mutants is very cool in itself because I like the mutant world. But the New Mutants is something separate in its own sort of, you know, space to the X-Men, of course. So I wasn't as keen to watch it. If this was an X-Men film, I would have been more excited the way I was with Dark Phoenix. I know everybody shit on Dark Phoenix, but I didn't mind it, to be honest with you. Now, so I wasn't super hyped. I'll just put that out there. I was not ever super hyped about the New Mutants. Second reason why, besides the fact that it wasn't the OG characters that I've known and loved for over like 10 years, the second thing is the fact that it was like a teen sort of drama situation. Now, I don't really, if you guys know me, I don't really like kids films. Now, you know, if we're going old school, like 90s, like old Dakota Fanning type of stuff, or like Matilda, like, I like those, but those are like very nostalgic, you know, and now that I'm older, I just prefer like, you know, dark, heavy adult content, really. The grittier the better, you know, R18 is what I'm looking for. So a PG-13 film that is aimed towards young adults is not I'm not the target demographic, let's just put it that way. And I'm not that old, but I'm just not into movies that way. I like the older teens, like the college type teens, especially in horror movies, because I just love watching like stupid teens get murdered, you know, like that kind of a thing. But this was not that. This was very, very teeny boppery. It was very like young adult. And so immediately it was not in my interest, in my wheelhouse. I don't like it. I'm not familiar with it. It's been a very long time since I've watched anything like that. It's also the reason I avoided watching it, because it revolved around young boys, and I'm just not interested in young children. So yeah, I like to watch adult films with adult themes and adult content. So that was my reservations for this film. But again, like I said, I was still into watching it. Now, as I said, I went through the cast. Now, I'll tell you the good things about this film before I shit all over it. The good things about it. Maisie Williams was really good in it. I liked her performance. Now, given she got probably the easiest job, not having to really change her accent too much. But I really liked her in this. I think she was quite good and her performance was quite well done. Second to that, I really liked, as I mentioned, Anya Joy-Taylor. She was the best thing in terms of standout performance and also just cool factor. Even though she played like the stereotypical bitch in the film, I really liked her performance. I think that she was the best part of it, as I said, in the sense of her character. Now, her powers in this, they all obviously have different powers as mutants. Her powers were the coolest. I found everything and everybody else quite generic, bland, and boring. And as I said, this movie was not very memorable. It was fairly slow paced. The pacing wasn't horrible, but at the start it was kind of slow. It dragged a little bit. It was kind of like here, there, and everywhere. Like, you could really tell that this was something that, despite how long it took to be released, was seriously rushed. You could tell that the writing was just not there. These character arcs were never fully developed. These characters were not fleshed out. So yeah, from a story perspective, I had a really big problem with that, because you guys know that I'm all about the story and the characters, and especially character development. And I feel like if that's not there, it's really hard to get an audience to be interested and to stay the course of the entire film and really invest in these characters and their story. And you need to make them, you need to make an audience care about your characters. And I feel like they didn't do that for me. They had very, very stereotypical characters, and they were so bland and predictable. So you couldn't even really enjoy the moments that they put in there. You know, there was a little bit of like humor that they tried to do. Like I said, Anya Joy Taylor was the best thing about this. Her lines, you know, her performance in general, I think her character overall just got the best of everything. And I feel like if every character was like that, maybe it would have been a little bit better. Now, in saying that, I think it was, let me just double check, it was Charlie Heaton. He was quite good too. I've never seen him in anything before, but I really liked his performance. You could tell he was putting on an accent, and I liked it. I think it was well done. I liked his backstory, but again, it was all very like quick cut, you know, it was never really fleshed out enough, and so therefore I didn't feel the emotional impact that I feel like the movie was trying to put out there and convey. Everything just felt like the pacing was off and topsy-turvy and rushed. Like you could feel that from the film. At least I could feel that from the film. Like I said, it just bothered me a lot that the characters weren't fleshed out. Also, it was just super predictable and super cheesy, and it was just boring, honestly, guys. It was not very memorable. Like I said, I have to try and remember most of the film to try and even do this review for you guys. There were, like I said, Illyana, I think her name was, Illyana's powers were probably the coolest. Although, to be honest, I don't really fully still understand what her power actually was. I was too busy looking at her arm, going Inspector Gadget. That was cool, and that was definitely like an X-Men kind of thing. I also like the little dragon. I don't know much about the New Mutants, so I don't know much about the lore and the characters themselves. I can only go based off this film, and like I said, based off this film, they didn't do enough to educate people like myself who don't know about these New Mutants. I also feel like it's completely pointless just to put a project like this out there, given the fact that clearly it's not going to have a sequel. You know, and also the other thing that put me off is by the time the film came out, you know, they were doing panels for this film. You know, I did a panel for this film, and you can just see how much older the actors are, you know, and they have like children and stuff, and it's weird. It's really hard to put yourself in a character when you see them outside of that character so entirely different, and aged as much as they have. You know, so, you know, they're trying to play young teenagers, and then you see them in their, I don't know, in their early 20s, I'm assuming, late 20s, I don't know. But it took me out of it personally. Now, normally I don't watch stuff like that. Normally I avoid things like that for that exact reason, because I want to try and get into the character and the story, and I don't want to see what the actual actor looks like in real life. You know, I want to feel the character. But it was kind of a bit unavoidable, and I saw it, and now it can't be unseen. So that definitely affected my viewing experience too. As much as I tried, though, to go in for clean slate, like mentally, I really did. I really tried to push it out of my mind. But it came down to the fact that this movie just didn't deliver. And that's really all that it was, more than anything else. You know, I'm pretty good at like putting things out to experience the story. But if you can't grab me through the story or the characters, then that's on you, buddy. But yeah, it just was not happening, guys. So, you know, this movie was just kind of all over the shop. You know, there were a lot of things that were wrong about it. And I feel like also, you know, this was not designed to be just a general genre comic book sort of piece. I feel like, you know, the director also tried to put a horror spin on this. And, you know, there were definitely horror elements. Now, not to say, don't confuse that with me saying I was scared, because it wasn't scary. But the horror elements were there. For example, you know, when you have them all sort of sneak up to this like room where they think that they can't be seen. You know, the fact that there's like this big brother spying presence on everything they're pretty much doing. The fact that they're like locked up in these cells, and there's just creepy sort of eerie vibes around this, whatever you want to call it, because it's definitely not a hospital. It's like a creepy mansion, really. So, you know, this has like the haunted mansion vibe, the creepy doctor vibe, the cabin in the woods type of feels as well, with the, you know, the teens all gathering around telling sort of ghost stories or having a chat. There was even one scene in particular that honestly made me laugh, because they were all sitting around like sort of talking and stuff and just chilling out, and Buffy was playing on the TV, like they were like Maisie Williams' character was watching Buffy, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I was so fucking bored by everything around me, as in the film, the characters, I was so bored by that the most interesting thing about this film was that Buffy scene. I would have rather watched Buffy than watched whatever the fuck was going on around it. It was just so fucking boring, and it was dragging on so much. So while they made a good effort to put the elements in there that are definitely noticeable to someone who's a horror buff like myself, it was not scary, and it was still fucking boring. The villains that were supposed to be scary in the horror element, it wasn't scary at all. Not really. Not for someone like me. Like, again, I'm not the target demographic, but I still feel like a film like this should really reach a wider audience, like, I'm not 70, so I love these. I like, comic book films. I like superhero films. I like the X-Men, for fuck's sake, and it's just, and I like horror, but yet they just couldn't do anything about it that made it successful. So, I feel like there was effort there that was notable, but it just didn't cross the line. It just was not enough. It was definitely lacking for sure. So, like I said, my favorite parts of this film were honestly the Buffy scenes, literally. I was trying to watch Buffy in the background while Maisie Williams' character was talking. No disrespect at all to Maisie Williams. Like I said, she was decent, but yeah, it was just boring and bland and predictable as hell, and slow paced as hell. Like, there were so many things that were just wrong about this film that you just would watch it screaming at your fucking screen, being like, come on, just do something, like, it was so anticlimactic. And then even in the moments where they had action, it just didn't pack a punch. It was just lacking, so yeah, like I said, it was just lacking all around. It was lacking character-wise, story-wise. The emotion was not there for me. Even the action sequences, the CG was pretty fucking terrible. I mean, I didn't mind the bear, don't get me wrong. I liked the little dragon, that was cute, but everything else was pretty fucking boring, especially those smiley people. They weren't creepy. It was better watching the smiley guys in the little clip with Buffy when she was fighting them. Like, those were fucking creepy fuckers. Those fuckers were creepy as shit. I still remember those guys. But these smiley dudes, not so much. And again, they just didn't give enough backstory there. Like, I wanted more, I guess maybe I was looking for this to be an R18, and I think that's the problem with maybe my perception of it. So I feel like if that was there, maybe it would have been better. But still, overall, for something that I think should have been a fun flick for people to watch, especially given how desperate people are, because I mean, it made some money at the movie, so some people are going to go watch it. But to be honest with you, I think that's honestly more because people have been locked up for so long, and this is the first comic book genre type cinema that we've received since everything's gone down in theaters. So, I feel like they just had a chance and they just wasted it, to be fair. So, I don't know what else there is to say about this film. It was really, really boring. I struggled to get through it. There were certain scenes that just bothered the hell out of me. For example, the scene where, like, Maisie Williams and the other girl, I don't even remember her name, to be honest, her character was so boring. And it's funny because they make you focus on that character more than the other characters. She has the power of bringing nightmares to life, but it was just fucking boring the way it was. She was just boring, again. But, like, they just use the showers, like, and they just walk in and start having a conversation. It's like, excuse me, you wouldn't just meet this person, be super depressed, super emotional about losing, your dad and your whole village and all this stuff, and then just have a shower in front of somebody and have no reservations or issues. Like, none of them had, it was so badly done, like, none of them had any issue. It was just normal. And I was like, this is not normal. Like, you being a mutant doesn't mean that you're not human as well. Like, the human factor was just not there. And then they try to force the emotion when it wasn't there, in those little moments where they could have added things like just making it normal, making it awkward, making it feel like something. I just didn't feel that connection that they were supposed to have. You know what I mean? And so it just wasn't there for me. The other fucking scene that I hated was the actual lesbian scene, the lesbian kiss scene. I fucking hated that, and I'm a lesbian, you guys. I fucking hated it. It was so bad and cheesy and just terribly predictable. I just wanted it to be done. Honestly, I'm pretty sure I skipped it. I skipped that. 20 seconds of that because it was just it drained my life, you guys, and those are precious seconds I will never get back. And I also skipped parts of the end fight because it was literally just fucking dragging. It was dragging so much and nothing was happening. It was so anticlimactic. You know, even Anya Joy-Taylor's character, she's so bitchy and like badass, and you're like, oh cool, a character that I can get behind, you know, because I don't mind a bitch if she's badass. I like badass female roles. I've said this many times before, you know. But then even she was like a pussy at the end of it. Like it was just so disappointing. And they had this setup and they just sacrificed actual interesting characters and moments that could have been really cool to sort of force this other narrative in there by using the other character. And it was just so lame and I was not feeling it. I also was pretty fucking annoyed at Roberto just fucking hiding in church behind a seat and being like, yeah, I'm hiding too. Like, it was just lame. You know, it just took way too long for him to do something. You know, literally, like, they were, like, screaming at him. Charlie Hayden's character's like, come on! Like, it was just so delayed. Like, it just took too long. So, with that being said, rant over. I really don't want to try and shit on the people that worked on this film, because that's not what I'm about. But you know what? I am a consumer of the product, and I have to give my honest review and opinion, and that's just what it is. I'm sorry, but I'm a movie buff, and I'm not an expert in anything or movie making or anything like that, and I don't want to shit on the actors' performances at all or anything like that. This movie just wasn't it, guys. It just wasn't it. So, with that being said, this film is going to get my lowest rating I have ever given to a film. Now, plus side, it's not a 0 or a 1. Downside, it's below average. So my average is 5. Anything above 5 is like average, and then like maybe like above like a 6.5 is like really, it's decent. It's really good. With anything above 8 being like amazing, basically. Now anything below a 5, because even a 5 is not really great. A 5 is just kind of mediocre, to be fair. Just got you by. Now this film, honestly, I'm gonna give it a 3. I was going to be generous and give it a 4 just because I liked Ileana's powers and the little dragon, that was cool, and I liked the bear, and Alice Braga's cool. I mean, even as a villain, like, the villains were super lame. Like, even her performance, I feel like they just cut her at the knees. Like, but I like Alice Braga regardless. I enjoyed every second that she was on the screen. But I can't do it. I can't justify it, guys. So I'm going to have to give this a 3 out of 10. That's it. I don't know what else to say about it. Maybe I have watched too many of these films and maybe I'm too analytical, but I feel like the general consensus is kind of similar from what I have seen, review scores and whatnot. Now, I don't normally pay too much attention, but when it's the public reviewing that, I think you kind of have to. So I hope that they learn a lesson. You know, it's also really sad because this is basically the last X-Men film, and you know, I hate to say it, I really hate to say it, because people have said, you know, that this is the worst sort of X-Men type film. Now, I'd have to agree with it. You know, I didn't hate Dark Phoenix. I know a lot of people were saying that Dark Phoenix is the worst. I didn't hate Dark Phoenix. I like Sophie Turner. I didn't mind the performance. There were definitely plot holes in that. That was also rushed in certain areas. You know, had similar problems to this film, but this was just on a different scale altogether. It was pretty damn terrible. I would not watch this film again, and like I said, I was kind of pushing myself to watch it, and I haven't had that issue really with any film that I've reviewed to date on this channel. So yeah, this one really had me struggling to get through it, and I don't struggle to get through movies, guys, so that kind of tells you how bad it was. So sorry if you guys enjoyed this. I mean, if you enjoyed it, great. You know, I hope people always enjoy films. You know, that's what they're made for. So, you know, if you enjoyed it, then cool. But this is my opinion, and I did not enjoy it. So let me know what you guys thought. If you've watched this, if you can even watch it, because a lot of people are still waiting to try and watch this film. So if you did watch it, let me know what you guys thought. And did you like the characters? Did you like the action sequences? How did you feel about the CG? Did you have the same problems I did, basically? Or is it completely opposite experience for you? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys soon again with another review. Bye, guys.